Deltahead stream. I am James Howell, and tonight we're going to do part 2 of Metal Gear Solid. The Quinn Snakes. Maybe I've got kind of a spoonerism there happening with Quentin Flynn's name. So Quentin Flynn, Quinn, Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes. That's the game we're going to play, and we're starting at Vulcan Reagan's fight. This is, man, just rhymes coming out of the mouth in place of the things that they're supposed to, be connected to. Anyway, yeah, Vulcan Reagan, that's who we're going to be fighting tonight at the top of the stream. So, really cool day today because for the first time in like half a year, I think, got the Deltahead podcast has a new episode out. This is with critic and narrative designer Michael Lutz, and he spoke with me about the game Gone Home through a couple of poems that are somewhat older, but and that was very exciting to see as a poetic selection. One called The Travelers by Walter de la Mare, and another by a poet named Lanier, who wrote the description of Cookham. And highly recommend listening to the podcast. Great discussion, great guest, and some new insight on a great game. Kind of good. Yeah, I usually don't like having this thing up for when I stream, but it's been up like that all day long, and it just looks kind of terrible when it's pulled out now. So this is what we've got. But for anybody interested, here is the link in the chat. So, pre-game show here, pretty good light reading. I have gone through the November 1965 Fantastic Fiction magazine, and I've been reading some of the short stories in here. There's it's called a serialized novel called Axe and Dragon, which I would like to start reading, but I would like to be able to, I'd have the whole thing in hand before I start reading that. Serialized stuff, especially when it involves back issues, is kind of a dicey thing. But yeah, I read Wild Talents Incorporated by Robert Sheckley, and that is about a guy who runs a specialized sort of unemployment agency for people with special gifts like telekinesis, psychokinesis, and mind reading, second sight, that sort of thing. So it's kind of neat. Like there's one guy who has the ability to identify alloys, just very specific knowledge. He can identify alloys with 40% accuracy, and so he gets him a job at metal plant. There's a name for it, but I'm forgetting what it is. But anyway, refinery, that's it. It's kind of a metal refinery, and he feels really self-conscious about it, even when he's out there with his powers and he's useful on the job. So he quits, and then he finds out that the entire production line, even though he was only 40% accurate, that the fact that they would have to go back and have it reassessed that 60% of the time was still more cost effective than the entire apparatus that they had for verifying purity of metals prior to him. So they wind up building their entire sort of like assembly line around him. Anyway, it's really interesting, and it's one of these like science fiction, it's like thought experiment stories that goes in some neat directions. And the other one is Tooth or Consequences, which is the most blindingly just goofy name, by Robert Bloch. And Robert Bloch is one of these sort of like vintage science fiction writers, very much Rod Serling Twilight Zone era writer, and in fact I'm pretty sure he wrote several of those episodes. And it's a fun vampire story. It's one of these short stories that is very conventional in many of the beats and things that it brings up, but what it does with them is interesting in its own right. And so far as the movies this week go, let's see, there's the Donald Ritchie Film Anthology, which I'm very excited about. Donald Ritchie is the author of the 100 Years of Japanese Cinema book that I'm reading, and these are the 15 to 30 minute surviving segments of a lot of really old films that I'm very excited to take a look at. The Nikatsu Diamond Guys, the sort of anthology of sampler films of the leading men from the Nikatsu film studio. And Who's Camus Anyway? And I had never heard of this before, and I found it on the shelf at Scarecrow Video, so I thought, you know what, it's a more modern one, so I'll try it out. But yeah, before we before we hop into the game, this was people seemed to like this last time, so we will do it again. Again, like I've been watching at a pace of about 3 movies a week. A lot of older Japanese cinema from 1930s through typically 1980s is where my sort of like interest sort of stops, but I've watched a few beyond that. And so I've accumulated quite a lot of that, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of screenshots. And so that's going to be kind of a fun thing to integrate into these pre-game shows while kind of waiting for people to kind of trickle in. And yeah, so the thing, and I can't guarantee that these are going to be especially insightful or even smart, but they're things that I like, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So there's this one character that it's a recurring character called Tange Sazen, and he is a one-armed, one-eyed samurai who was mutilated in a duel. The sort of implication is he was always done wrong. And left for dead, survived his injuries, and then went on, of course, to become even more powerful than ever, as these things go. It's a very superhero sort of start to his tale, and films starring him go all the way back to like the 1930s. And I think maybe kind of the way that you might think about the way these films happen regarding him is, think about like the Spider-Man movies, where there's like, I can think of 3 Spider-Man movies on hand that have the origin story, 4 actually, that have the origin story in there, and it's the same story. You know all the beats, you roughly know how it's going to turn out, and you're not super surprised on that front, but it's the way that it's executed. That's what's interesting. And I think we've probably all hit our fill on Spider-Man origin story movies, which is why I think they're making few of them. But yeah, it's that sort of thing. And almost every story involving Tange Sazen involves some sort of object that contains clues to the whereabouts of fabulous treasure. And so that's always the MacGuffin. And so you have the character and the MacGuffin, and the story that's crafted around that varies from film to film, and that's kind of one of the things that we're going to look at here. My favorite Tange Sazen is actually it's called The Million Ryo Pot by Sadao Yamanaka, who made the movie whose stills we looked at last time. But in order to kind of like describe why I like that, we're going to look at some of the other ones by comparison. So this is a classic Tange Sazen look. You got the one eye. This is Tamba Tetsuro, who is very storied, very, very beloved, and very well featured face of Japanese cinema from like the 50s through the 70s. Stars in a lot of samurai jiageki movies, and then kind of promotes to a lot of Yakuza movies when those become popular. But here he is. You see, he's got the one eye. He's got a sort of darker undershawl and a white kind of like overcoat, and that's sort of the typical thing, the typical sort of garb for this character. And this one is it's called the one-eyed Evening Iceman Dan. Yeah, no, if you don't have a good MacGuffin, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Personally, I mean, not your life personally. I can't attest to that, but I'm glad you have a good MacGuffin, and I hope you do. Yes, every text needs a pretext. You're exactly right. But yeah, this one is a little more, I want to say, kind of rote, a little more, I don't want to say by numbers, but it's a very stock adventure story. There is, the way 2 of these start out is there is a clan called the Yagyu clan, and they have enemies, always fighting. Between clans and factions, but the fighting isn't overt. It's always political. It's always undermining. It's always subterfugal. I don't know. When you watch enough of these things, you really start to see where all of the double dealings and the political double crossings and triple crossings that show up in the Metal Gear games, you see exactly the story heritage that stuff comes from. For all of the Western films that Hideo Kojima traces his like lineage back to, like when you start watching this stuff, you can like see like, oh, that's kind of the tradition. But kind of the political machinations that they put in effect is they were like, you know what, we really want to get rid of the Yagyu clan, so let's nominate them for the honor of repairing this, Big Cheese's shrine, and the cost of repairing the shrine is astronomical and will absolutely ruin the clan. But because it is also an honor to be chosen, they can't refuse it, because then it just insults a bunch of people. So they have like no good way out. And so the only way out is to find this fabulous treasure. And in this one in particular, there's like a sword that's got an inscription on it, and there's a whole search that goes on for it. And he is kind of he's kind of a Robin Hood character in this one. He's kind of a king of the underclass, a lord of the underclass, and you know, he steps up and inserts himself into the conflict. You know, and also in good Robin Hood, you know, Locksley form. He also comes from nobility and that sort of thing. But it kind of you know, there's build up, event, counter event, turn of fate, counter turn of fate, and it all builds up to this, you know, good Chanbara showdown where it's one man against many. And this is kind of the feel of it, right? This is the scene that's going to show up a lot. But you know, there are the dead around, enemies awaiting, and then there's the foe in front of him. And eventually, but see, it does come back from like fighting many, kind of very Muso kind of fighting to one-on-one. And it ends with his victory. You know, of course, he comes out on top. So it's a very hero thing. It's like you see the hero that he is. He turns out to be that hero. You come away having seen the movie you thought you were going to see. And then the next one, this kind of shows up a little bit later. This is Nakamura Kanosuke, I think. I know his first name is Kanosuke, but I think Nakamura is right surname. Anyway, he is a fantastic actor, to the extent that Tamba Tetsuro tends to do the same kind of sort of like anti-hero or understandable villain, or just mean villain kind of role. This guy is versatile as hell. It just like does so much good stuff. And so, but this is, you can see the same kind of character type, right? The black undergarment, white overgarment, missing eye. And this one, whereas the other one is very much like, this is a Robin Hood character and it's the adventure of a Robin Hood character. This one is actually more of a character-focused thing, so it actually goes into kind of his life. So you actually get to see his origin story. Oh yeah, this one also features Tamba as a supporting character, so it's kind of neat that this guy winds up being the lead in one version of this story, and then as a supporting character in another, and that's just kind of a neat thing that you run into. But yeah, you get to see his backstory, get to see how he becomes, you know, the hero he is, loses his eye. Oh yeah, and the arm that he loses is his sword arm, so when he becomes awesome and superpowered later, it's his weak arm that he becomes powerful with. Yeah, there you go. And Gosha does this really nice thing that he cuts to that to birds flying in the sky under the same background. And yeah, it's lovely. But yeah, and so you have like the Robin Hood thing, the one against many, and this one is much more character focused. So it's just him versus a nemesis, and it's the violence is much more personal and individualized. But this is the thing that keeps showing up. This sort of setup. It's not. This isn't the only movie that this shows up in, but it's the same kind of yes, like very much like Ocelot losing his arm to Grey Fox. That motif shows up in. I don't want to say it shows up all the time, but consistently enough that you recognize it as a pattern. Thank you, that's a really good example. But yeah, but this particular kind of standoff with Sazin on the right and Foe on the left, you know, kind of the white garb and the black garb, that shows up. So here is that from a different angle and in a different setup. But, you know, the violence is much closer, much more personal, less far away, less choreographed, and much more about facial expressions and that sort of thing. So it turns it from, like, from a story where he is a type to a story where he's a character. And that's a little more interesting. But my favorite one, and I think this goes so far, this really can be abstracted just kind of how, like, superhero stories are done in general, is this 1935 one where... rather than being sort of like a rollicking bandit or somebody with a dark grudge to bear, he is he's incredibly powerful and he lives in the back of a bar. And a lot of what he does, it's like you kind of know based on what you know about the character, you know that he is this storied, very powerful swordsman. And so the movie can take that knowledge, no backstory needed. It's like just you assume you know the character's origins. And it uses that to really interesting effect. So, like, there are certain things where, like, he's given, like, this mundane errand, which just requires a drop of kindness to respond to. Most people would be like, okay, sure, I'll be a good guy and do that. But he is, like, he is constantly on the hero's edge of adrenaline. So he's like, "Would you be so kind to walk Shichibei home later?" And he's just like full of piss and vinegar. He's like, "Hell no, absolutely not. I've got better things to do. I hate your singing and I hate your sake and I'm going to bed." I absolutely refuse to accompany him. Sideswipe. "Oh, this is fine. Thank you so much." So it's just like, there's like no explanation given. Absolutely zero. There's just like a very quick ellipsis, and it just cuts straight to that. And then there are other things where it's like, you know, he has to go tell a kid that his dad died. And he goes up to him, and instead of like, and he's also full of bluster prior to that. He's like, "I got something to tell you." And like, he just absolutely cannot tell him and just like caves into, are you hungry? And even when it finally gets to that sort of Chanbara moment at the end, here, this again, this shot in this posture. So you have him here in this dojo, and it's the same thing there. It's the same thing there. Exact same shot, exact same setup. And it's always that showdown that sort of shows you what this version of the character is doing and who he is. And yeah, so he's kind of showing up to kind of shake down this dojo. It's a thing that a lot of Ronin do in these movies, where they show up to a dojo, they beat everybody up, and then they demand a ransom because they won. And it's just this really jerk thing to do, and that's what he's doing. But he winds up getting there, and he wins, and he's successful, and he finds out that the guy who's the head of the dojo is his old drinking buddy. And during the fight, the drinking buddy is like, "I'm really not as good as you. Please lose to me. I will pay you money." And then they'd haggle during the fight, and finally agree to pay to throw the fight. And so you go from like these like really storied, over the top superheroes to just absolutely petty, super small-hearted, and it's just ridiculous. And I think that's really good because this kind of connects to Metal Gear. I promise it does connect to Metal Gear, where a lot of Metal Gear's turns depend upon events are not what they seem, and this is more like people are not what they seem. And I think that is a very interesting way of handling a story, and the way this character is handled in different iterations kind of makes me think of the way the different snakes are handled across the different versions. So, but yeah, with that in mind, here we go. Twin Snakes. Oh. All right. 1 second, let me get chat up here on my laptop, or not laptop, iPad. Let's see. Cool. Iceman Dan, if you could do me a favor and type something very quickly into chat, that will let me know whether or not this is responding as it should be. Good. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, good. I'm glad you're able to get a visit in. I have not had the opportunity to visit many people since pandemic has ended. Got to visit family once, but let's a second. I got to get the aspect ratio fixed on this. There we go. Well, I hope it was a good visit, and I hope you traveled well. Alright, here we go. Oh yeah, this is neat. They carry over the mission logs from the original game and have the out of everything they remake, they did not remake the Shinkawa artwork that is in the background. I don't think. I mean, these are very Shinkawa sketches, so I'm pretty sure those are original. And this is where we have a minefield here. This is the fight that's coming up. I remember in the original Metal Gear, you know, you have to fight this this tank that's coming up here with grenades, and the grenades sort of auto track when you toss them in the first Metal Gear to Metal Gear Solid, so that they land on their target. And this one allows you to go into first person, and I don't remember if it has the same sort of auto-targeting that that the first one does, which makes that actually a much easier fight than one might think it would be. So we're just gonna get these claymores. Oh.
Snake, be careful. There are claymore mines.
Evening Final Techniques, good to see you.
Use a mine detector.
Who are you?
Just call me Deep Throat.
Deep Throat? The informant from the Watergate scandal?
Never mind about that.
You're not using burst transmission. Are you nearby?
I always wonder sometimes, like, if using Deep Throat, if they just wanted to call out the reference.
Who are you anyway?
Or,
one of your fans.
I mean, the, you know, the informant on the inside, you know, theme that that Gray Fox's activities sort of touch on, being one thing, but the fact that Snake seems confused about it and actually thinks that it might be the Watergate informant, and then Gray Fox just kind of has to be like, never mind about that. There are landmines around you. 1 second. There we go. Goodbye, bot. Rip. Or rib. Rest in bots. Ooh, okay, cool. Do I need to heal up? I do not. In the original Metal Gear, I remember this being one of the few places where Snake does something kind of like with sort of like anime agility. Once the shell detonates right in front of him, he kind of like has this jump back that's very acrobatic. And that's the closest he gets to those kinds of acrobatics in the original, and they're just like all over the place in this one. Bitcoin as nanobots. Can I zoom in? I can zoom in. It feels very strange to see Raven with like a clear face and the tattoos being pronounced. Oh, that's the second time they used that kind of James Bond, James Bond's bullet gun view. Yeah, he doesn't come off quite as agile in this one. He just kind of gets thrown around like a rag doll.
That's right. You belong on the ground. You should crawl on the ground like the snake you are. Come, let's fight.
I do like how many of these cutscenes take, for the outdoor shots at least, take a long view away so you can see quite a lot of the level. Alright, so I have chaff grenades, I have claymores, I have a C4, Excuse me. And what does my grenade look like? Okay. Oh, that's not going to do anything against the tank. That was close. That's really close. It's kind of a nice angle. I briefly got my hands confused on the controls as though we were playing MGS5. So this stops the treads moving around, so now it's an easier target. So let me try to use this. Man, I guess it's really interesting that really, really cold environments, I mean, they're cold-blooded, so it makes sense, but really, really cold environments are one of the few that snakes are not adapted to because they exist in almost every other. Okay. Yeah, good, good, good. That's what I'm talking about with the auto lock or auto targeting for the grenades, which honestly, you could not throw grenades in first person in the original. Oh wow, that one didn't quite do as much. And that's kind of a blessing because first-person grenades are it can be unbearably frustrating in the Metal Gear Solid 2 kind of setup, especially since it tried to take advantage of the pressure-sensitive buttons. Made it very hard to gauge what strength you were throwing it at, and also there was no sort of like preview arc to show where you were throwing it, and trying to ace the VR missions for that weapon was just maddening. Good evening, Swimmy. Good to see you. Just gonna not stare down that. Get to a higher elevation. One thing about the vocal performances on the guards in this new one, they sound almost beleaguered rather than injured. That seems like an unwise position to be in for Snake when he's aiming the M9. But they appear not to be taking advantage of that, so...
See how you like this?
Oh yeah, the tank... There's a boss rush mode that you get access to when you beat the game, and the tank is easily the one that takes me the longest. Maybe there's a strategy to mitigate the RNG that I don't know about, but it seems really seems kind of random. Also, I'm now noticing that as long as I can point Snake in the general direction of the tank and press B here as I hold down my fire button, it will actually auto lock onto the guy. And I get my chip damage there. Oh man. I imagine whoever got that must, What? Oh, okay. I guess. No, they must have really appreciated that windfall from the game. One wonders if these guards or these tank pilots received some sort of special, I don't know, tranquilizer therapy, because they are certainly able to take a lot more stamina damage than any other genome soldier. I guess that's what happens. That is what happens when you get promoted from grunt to sub boss. I would be frustrated in that position because I would prefer the visual distinction of some sort of special uniform. There we go. This is so goofy. Snake's just chilling with a live grenade. And not looking at it. Action heroes are too cool to look at the giant gun staring them in the face. Like the notion that Raven just like totally threw that guy in the line of fire. That is absolutely, that feels very much like Kitamura slapstick right there. And I think it's probably the introduction of slapstick that damage like that is not instantly mortal, which is one of the things that sort of trips the, is this really Metal Gear? Switch in my brain.
You would be wise not to underestimate him.
What did you think of him?
Well, yeah, you gotta push each bullet in by hand. It's just the way guns work, right?
He lives and breathes combat just like you. I would expect no less from your...
You see, I told you so, but I will kill
Did he? I expect no less from your...
General Ivan, I hear that you lost your arm and ran away home.
Watch your tongue, shaman.
In the language of the Sioux people, Sioux means snake. It is known as an animal to be feared.
Oh, yeah.
Well, snake is mine.
They didn't, kind of line that interrupt
I'll take special care.
perfectly.
Not yet. Don't kill him yet.
He and I will meet again in battle.
Same prediction as always.
Yes, the raven on my head. It thirsts for
When he
his
says same
blood.
prediction as always, I can see now that Ocelot probably meant that Raven frequently predicts that he will win in battle. Every time I played it before just kind of hearing it anew, I always thought that Ocelot was making reference to what Raven just said, which is like, he and I will meet again in battle, as though Raven just kind of always had like second rounds with everybody he fought. It now seems more like I don't know, the more badass option is probably appropriate to Raven's sort of character building. This is a nice visual point. Coming off of Metal Gear Solid 5 to play this, I have the impulse to pull out my binoculars and mark their locations.
Be careful. You...
It is very interesting to me that they wait this long to introduce Natasha. Like, I would say this is pretty firmly into the second act here, after meeting Meryl and fighting a second boss, and one might expect all the major supporting characters to have been introduced. for now. Some quality classic sneak in here. Feels good. I wonder. I don't know. Seems like the most necessary code name for the plot to sort of signal what it's doing would be for Liquid Snake to be Liquid Snake, because they are, well, as the title in this game goes, twin snakes. But I'm very sure as long as I've waited, this guy is definitely already on his way back to this post. So maybe it was sort of backward from there, right? Like, okay, we have to have this other guy named Snake. Gray Fox was named Fox, so let's just kind of lean into that that pattern. Because I remember, if I remember right, the special units that you fight in Metal Gear 2 doesn't have the same sort of like uniform animal name theme. Like, one of them is just simply named Running Man. Alright. See, I really want to go now, but now I'm super nervous that that dude is on his way back. Running Man is pure slapstick. Just hanging out there, dude?
Is there somebody there?
Well, I guess. I mean, to be fair, he's got a radioactive hood over his head, so maybe he doesn't hear so well. That was the worst card.
Freeze.
The most unfortunate position to have your hands put up in. I will do him the favor of not killing him like that. But I remember that guy causing me loads of trouble. Genome soldiers are sloppy. That guy causing me loads of trouble when he returns to his patrol. Ah, Jesus! I didn't know he was there. I really got a good jump out of me. Do this without getting caught by the backup unit.
No sign of the AWOL man. Everything seems normal.
Whew. Close. No sign of the AWOL man, just your classic blood spray. I do like this very bouncy mix. of the Metal Gear theme. Excuse me. There's some interesting camera work that happens here. It's very strange that, I mean, I can see the floor pattern leading there, and that makes sense because there's something to draw my attention to. But the floor pattern leading here kind of makes me wonder if there was something that had been there that was then removed. Excuse me. Something that happens right there, with a lot of these cutscenes, you can kind of tell that they started capturing the motion capture footage with the character starting from static, rather than starting in a static position and then start walking and then cut the animation there. It is feasible that Snake would have just started from a standing position. Yeah, they really don't want me to not understand how this works. That Snake would have started from a standing position on the other side of the door, but there are a lot of other cutscenes that sort of start that way too, and it always reads as a little weird.
Snake, watch out. That place is filled with gas. Also, the floor is electrified. First, destroy the high-voltage switch. It's the switchboard on the northwest wall.
But how? I can't reach it.
Use a remote-controlled missile.
I seem to remember, in the original Metal Gear, one of the more brutal things about that game's final sequences, there were these large electrical floors that I don't know if you just couldn't turn them off, or if you tried shooting them with a remote-controlled missile, you would take more damage, like waiting to destroy it, than you would if you just ran right across it. But this is an interesting sort of like Metal Gear trick that I know shows up very briefly in Metal Gear Solid 2, but I can't remember it showing up in 3. And maybe the closest it would have shown up in 4 is the electrical hallway. Or the microwave hallway, excuse me. Something that I'm doing right now that you can't see, but I'm pressing this button right here, which if you press that, Snake will hold his breath for longer. So if you're guiding the missile and you're pressing that, you actually get more O2 for more time. So here's how I'm going to try this. I can zip through here without adjusting too much. I can probably just make it. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, what's that? You're actually a really good person to get speedrun information from, because you generally pay close attention to games mechanics. So if there's something that you did not realize before, it is also something that I did not realize before. So it is always good secondhand knowledge. Oh yeah, I think you tell me about this, and it kind of blows my mind that that is the case. There's a camera in here. all of these threats become much less threatening when you can shoot these cameras in first person. There we go. Okay. Good. What is this? Oh, more of that. I'm really curious if this is the same asset that that they use in Metal Gear Solid 2. I am 90% sure that is the same filter that they use for Raiden's diving suit in first person. I agree. The backtracking was the most. It felt like the most bloat. It was the sort of thing where you felt kind of clever solving the mystery the first time, I think, but then after that it just becomes kind of tedious on replays. I think the see, this is the cutscene that Kitamura's involvement is like perfect for, if you're, you know, thinking about fidelity to the original. Actually, I'm kind of surprised that they allow that level of gore in this scene, because like in the next room there's like a statue of Mario and Yoshi, and I always felt like Nintendo had pretty strong like content control, tone control around the appearance of their very children-friendly mascots. And this is just this is raw Kitamura right here. As raw as it can be on GameCube hardware. Yeah, no, the backtracking design, I felt like that was one of the things that Metal Gear Solid 3 really opened up. By having progression be strictly forward-facing, rather than the backtracking that you do in MGS, MG1, MG2, and MGS. Metal Gear Solid 2's backtracking made a little more sense and was sort of self-consciously adopted, I think, because the level design was literally circular, so you could be backtracking and also feel like you're making forward progress. That's ridiculous. But, I think the backtracking with the keycard is also... I think there's a puzzle in Metal Gear 2, if I'm remembering this right. You have to trick a guard into thinking his shift is over, and the way to do that is to have an owl that is indigenous to Zanzibar Land's region hoot. However, in order to get an owl that hoots, you have to get an egg for an owl. Get the egg, go to an area that is warm enough to incubate the egg, and it will hatch in your inventory. And then you equip it near his guard station, and it goes, and then he's like, well, my time's up, and then he leaves. And like, that's sort of like going to an environment to take advantage of room temperature. That's I think that's kind of a seed of the keycard idea. No, yeah, 3, I think 3 is where the series, as far as its original design,
Camouflage? Who are you?
prior to MGS5 reaches its peak, and everything after that, from MGS4 to Portable Ops to Peace Walker, is sort of trying to realize MGS5. Right, Iceman Dan? It's,
What next?
wow, who knew Otacon had more in the bag, because he already peed once.
Hey, you're that ninja. I've been waiting for you, Snake. Who are you? Neither enemy nor friend. I am back from a world where such words are meaningless.
Yeah, I mentioned this in a YouTube video years ago, but like a lot of the sexism in the earlier games, I was able to sort of shrug off because, you know, it's genre material, spy genre, that's very much what it's referencing. And so that all makes sense. But what they did with Paz in Ground Zeroes was just way beyond, like, that sort of crossed the line where the generosity that I was able to allow on genre element grounds, genre trope grounds, I couldn't do that anymore.
In that can my soul find respite. I will kill you, or you will kill me. It makes no difference.
Oh yeah, no, it's the combat, the comments were combative. Somebody actually made a I think a rebuttal video,
I need that.
and
Keep your hands
it's
off him.
just a little bizarre because a lot of the things that were included in the rebuttal are literally answered and accounted for in the video itself. I just think it's something that people didn't want to hear, which is to be expected. This fight feels very good on Twin Stakes. This fight also felt very good on the original.
Now we can fight as warriors. Hand to hand. It is the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life to a weapon.
Oh wow, I don't think I've played this with headphones before and have not appreciated that the music is this sort of very very cool remix of the title theme music. What? My forward roll did not meet his ninja kick? Oh, there we go. Like Snake, the idea of like Snake just like rolling directly into his foot. That's not working quite as well as I thought it might. It's weird how when I have not noticed this before, but when Gray Fox is sort of on top of you, he sort of has trouble locking onto your location, so he just spins around a lot. That's interesting. This is something neat. I wonder if I can pull this off. You can shoot the Mario doll and get life back. And I think he's just on guard with his sword, so he's not going to aggress you. Again, something that I am very surprised that they allowed Mario to be in such close proximity to somebody getting cut in half. If I can just kind of cheese him. Curious. Okay, no, he invincibility's out after 3 hits. Actually, the only reason the old Solid Snake fought you in the middle of a minefield was because you took all of his guns. Come on, Gray Fox, remember. Evening, Dustin. It's good to see you. Does this trick still work? Sure does. I'm gonna get that health back. Whoops. Bump.
Snake, hurry up and catch me.
Clearly two great martial artists just whiff each other in close proximity.
I'm here, Snake.
Trying to think of a precedent for this kind of hide-and-seek boss mechanic, and you know, anytime with like a Metal Gear thing, when you notice something, you can always kind of assume there's something that did it previously in another game, and I'm not sure I can think of another game that does this. Excuse me, buddy. Clotting over here. I gotta say, still feel affection for Greg Eagles. Hurt me more! Just like very demanding, very hungry kind of delivery. The clashing of bone and sinew. Yes, I agree, swimming. That was, I think my parents got my brother the PlayStation when I was away at college. But, this was absolutely a reason to steal it. When I could. That and Resident Evil 2. Oh. Can't flip him. One thing that you don't get in this one that I really liked at the end of the first one is it sacrifices the moment where he starts wigging out and you have to shoot him with your FAMAS. Like, this is cool, don't get me wrong, but that really shows that, like, Snake is absolutely not in it for this weird honor battle thing. He is totally willing to kill this guy with guns. It's just that he was unable to, and now that Gray Fox is weak, he'll just, like, fill him with bullets. And I think that that was actually a much more interesting characterization of Snake through gameplay than this through the cutscene. I would love to see the behind-the-scenes footage of the mocap for that.
Killed in Zanzibar. Not again.
Oh, weird. I didn't notice that That cracked Otacon's glasses. I wonder if that that stays the same in his model.
What's happening?
Gray Fox is not having a good time.
Is it over?
Otacon's face in this seems a little longer than I would have thought it would have been after kind of its appearance in Metal Gear Solid 2, where it's just not quite as long. The jaw's a little thinner, a little higher up. I was also surprised at the decision to give Otacon gray hair in this one. Even though when I go back and look at the original, it's clearly gray there as well. I just never thought of it as gray. I don't know what I imagined it would have been otherwise, but seeing it identified as such in this makes me aware of the fact that that's what it literally was in the first game, and that feels strange to me.
How long are you gonna stay in there? Huh? Are you one of them? No, I'm not. I always work alone. Alone? Are you an otaku too? Come on, get out. We can't stay
Snake
here
has got
forever.
no time for that.
Your uniform's different from theirs. You're the Metal Gear Rex chief engineer, Hal Emmerich, right? You know me? I heard about you from Meryl. Oh.
I agree.
So you're here to rescue me?
Snake's face makes sense.
Sorry, but no. There's something that I've
Otacon's
gotta do first.
and Raven's are weird. I think...
Well, at least you're not one of them.
Oh, okay, there he goes. He actually switches out. He's got a backup pair of glasses.
Are you hurt?
I don't know if they ever had the resolution to make the glass cracking thing happen in the original. So, yeah, Otacon carries 2 pairs of glasses. That's some Twin Snakes retcon right there.
Well, if that's all, it's nothing to worry about. I want to ask you something. I need information about Metal Gear. Huh? Metal Gear? Yeah. What's Metal Gear really designed for? It's a mobile TMD. It's designed to shoot down nuclear missiles, only for defensive purposes, of course. Liar! I already know that Metal Gear is nothing but a nuclear-equipped walking deathmobile. Nuclear?
Something else that playing this game called my attention to the original that I omitted in my memory. So, because I was so used to Kitamura sort of taking Snake's emotions and making them much bigger, even in places where I didn't think they were even there, like when Arms Tech Baker can't remember Meryl's number and he gets frustrated and nearly blows his head off, I then started to assume that every time Snake began acting unreasonably and over the top, that was a Kitamura addition. And then I went back and played the original. It turns out this, and also this sort of roughing up of Otacon when he's in the jail cell, that's actually in the original, and I did not even notice that. And so, yeah, it took making me think that this game was making Snake overly emotional to see exactly how emotional he was in the original.
Supervised the final assembly with the main unit. President Baker?
Yeah, not the gun at Baker's head. That was definitely not in the original.
I only know it's equipped with a Vulcan cannon, a laser, and a railgun. A railgun, you said? Yeah. It uses magnets to fire bullets at extremely high velocities. The technology was originally developed for the SDI system and later scrapped. We were successful in miniaturizing it in a joint venture between Arms Tech and Rivermore National Labs.
Rivermore.
The railgun
I wonder
is Rex's right arm.
if they changed it from Livermore to Rivermore,
You sure you're not forgetting something?
in response
Metal Gear has a missile
to
module on its back that can carry up to 8 missiles.
a copyright claim, or if that was just a preventative measure. And something that could feasibly said to
but
be,
that's not
this
all,
is
I
Mario
think.
and
If Metal Gear
Yoshi in the
fired only
background.
standard
Something that could have been
nuclear missiles, then they should
arguably
already have
sourced
all
back to the
practical
original
data
because of
they
the
need.
RL swap
No.
with that character in Japanese.
Could it be? Metal Gear's co-developer, Rivermore National Labs, was working on a new type of nuclear weapon. They were using NOVA and NIF laser nuclear fusion testing equipment and supercomputers.
So they developed a new type of nuclear weapon in a VR testing lab, huh?
Yes, but you can't use virtual data on a battlefield. They would need actual launch data.
Tell that to Raiden.
These are some of the supercomputers. If you link these, you can test everything in a virtual environment. But it's all just theoretical.
So, this exercise was designed to test the real thing.
What did our president do? The terrorists launched that thing? No. Damn. Damn. I'm such a fool. It's all my
Weird.
fault.
I don't think Abadicon is capable of growing a beard.
The truth
It
is,
just always says it's like very boyish,
my grandfather was part of the Manhattan
boyish
Project.
projection,
He
appearance.
suffered with the guilt for the rest of his life. And my father? He was born on August 6th, 1945.
The day of the Hiroshima bomb. God's got a sense of humor, all right.
3 generations.
Yeah,
of
I like how,
men.
I mean, everything that we know from like
We must
MGS5
have
and
the
Peace
curse
Walker,
of
they just
nuclear
it
weapons
lied
written
right over
into our
that.
DNA.
Otacon has just put that out of his
I
mind.
used to think that I could use science to help mankind. But in the end, I was the one being used. Using science for peace? That's only in anime.
Using
That's
science for
enough
peace, that's
crying.
only an
Pull
anime,
yourself
and then
together.
turning that into weeping is like one of the nerdiest
Where
things.
is Metal Gear? Where on this base are they keeping it?
Rex is
God
in the
bless his
underground
heart.
maintenance base,
Where's that?
north of the communications tower. But it's a long way there.
The emergency override system for the detonation code is there too?
Yeah, in the base's control room. You'd better hurry. If they were planning a launch from the start, then their
I
ballistic
gotta say,
program is
using
probably
a
finished.
using a
And since they
filter
haven't called
and then
for me in
having
few
a
hours, they
camera
must
on a
not need
string
me.
just sort of
In other words,
troll
they must
around
be ready to launch.
Meryl's got the detonation code.
other
override
environments
keys. We'll link up with
is a
her.
pretty
we
cool,
can't
clever
override
way
the
of
launch,
filling
we'll have to destroy
filling
Rex.
screen time during exposition.
I'll
They've
show
done
you
it
the
twice
way.
now. Once with, actually 3 times.
On
Once
that
with
leg of
Baker,
yours, you'll just slow me down.
once with Anderson / Octopus,
You'll need me
and the
if you're
third
gonna
time here.
destroy Rex.
I don't need you. I just need your brain.
I created Rex. It's my right, my duty to destroy him.
If you get a chance, try to escape. When the coast is clear, I'll contact you by codec.
How am I supposed to escape from an island?
Okay.
So what then?
I want you to hide somewhere and keep me informed. You know this place well, don't you?
Of course I do. And don't worry, I've got this. It's the same stealth technology as the Ninja. Foxhound was gonna use them, but
I think that is a
with this, I'll
neat
be
filter
fine. Bad leg and all.
that they
Good.
use for the
But I
stealth
want
tech there.
Meryl to watch after you too. Something's wrong.
Did you hear something? Wasn't that some kind of music?
What did she look like?
Oh, okay. When Nauticon says, "Did you hear something?" I guess he's referring to the conversation that Snake just had with Meryl.
She was wearing the same green uniform.
And yeah,
as
this
the
is
terrorists.
kind of like the nerdy, embarrassing sexism that that you can just like identify as like
If she's
otaku
disguised as
stuff
the
and
enemy, you'll
not
have to
Bond
contact her when
stuff
she's
in the
alone, huh?
earlier games.
There's only one place where we can be sure she's by herself.
That too. Which,
Where's that?
when I first played this game, I didn't even
be so
scan as like that.
dense.
That's just like this weird, nerdy, gross otaku
Here,
thing.
use this
And
security
now
card.
I recognize that for what it is. But yeah, I guess Otacon can eavesdrop
security
on
level
Snake's
4.
conversation with Meryl over codec. And that's how he heard the
You're
music.
not in pain, are you?
Huh?
You feel okay? Nothing bothering you?
What's wrong? You get all friendly all of a sudden.
No, nothing. Just glad you're okay.
You're strange.
I'm a little nervous. Everyone else I've saved suddenly dies.
You're bad luck.
Jeez,
Forget
Otacon.
it, Doctor.
Call me Otacon.
Maybe that's why you're alone. Not because you're an
It
otaku.
stands for Otaku Convention. An otaku is a guy like me who likes Japanimation. Japan was the first country to successfully make bipedal robots.
It's interesting that they kept the
They're still the
Japanimation
best in the field of
translation
robotics.
instead of just like anime.
And Japanese
Because by the time
cartoons
this came
played
out,
some part
anime
in
would have
that.
been much more,
did.
you know, I think
I didn't
the
get into
accepted
science to make nuclear weapons,
current
you know.
term. I don't think anybody uses
Yeah,
Japanimation
that's what all
anymore and
scientists
hasn't for a
say.
very long time.
I became a scientist because I wanted to make robots like the ones in the Japanese animes. Really, it's true.
Sounds like an excuse to me.
The Japanese animes.
You're right.
Which implies the existence of other
We have to
animes.
take responsibility. Science has progressed because there is war. And because of scientists' greed, weapons of mass destruction were born. But that's all over. I won't take part in murder anymore.
Oh, Otacon. If only you knew the future that's ahead of you.
Whatever. All I want from you is information.
Sure, I know everything about this whole base. Ask me anything about Rex or about this place. Also, with this stealth camouflage, I can sneak in and out of the armory and mess hall. If you need ammo or rations, just
It is
tell
interesting to
me
me
and I'll
how
bring 'em to you.
prominently they put Yoshi and Mario in
I'm on
in these
frequency
cutscenes.
141.12. See you later.
And it also weirdly makes sense if Otacon is into you know, Japanese media, pop media and the like, that he would have Nintendo dolls and stuff around. I don't think Yoshi does anything for you. But yeah, this room has a lot of nice details in this version. This board, I don't know if this texture is used anywhere else. That's kind of neat to look at. Please do not erase. Clearly designed after an actual whiteboard used for used in a conference room. And this is neat, as Swimmy pointed out. The GameCube being here on the table. What the heck is that? Is that like a wireless? I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but I guess that is a wireless adapter for the controller. I never had one of those, so that's kind of new on me. But I did have a GameCube that color, so that makes me happy. I know that I believe Remake did the same thing. There are these the little computer consoles that you put the MO discs into to free either Jill or Chris, depending on who you're playing. Those are little GameCubes as well. I used to have a GameCube Color. Unfortunately, I had to sell it for rent back in like 2009, I think. So, very sadly, that specific system lives somewhere else. I would like to reacquire one day, though. That would be nice to feel like I got my stuff back. Huh. Wonder at what point it falls down. Okay. Interesting. So it's just a bunch of, it doesn't have any physics attached to the whole thing. Oh man. These guys really didn't fare well. It is a nice touch taking the Metal Gear Solid 2 sort of a tiptoe mechanics around bodies that are falling down and adding that to this room, which makes it make more sense, because in the first one I think that you had to run around them. I think they had collision attached to them so you couldn't actually step on them. Is this thing activated? Nope, it's still down. Nice. And give me just 1 second. I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back. Let's pause it once we get here. There. All right, I'll be right back. Everyone was very sadly deprived of this the last time, but now, this time, we in fact have a panda who is accessible and not hiding underneath a bed. This guy's gotten quite chunky lately. He's turned into a big giant fella, which in the winter months, I could write off as, well, someone's just got a fluffier coat for the season. But no, no. Nope, not now. It's just a big giant fella. And, nope. You will be free in a moment, my friend. Bathe in your stardom. Still as chill as ever. Good guy. Alright, so this is, I can't think if any of the other games do what this one does, where it sort of bakes the voyeuristic aspect of the sort of like otaku sexism, bakes it into the gameplay, because you actually have to look for Meryl's way of walking to progress, which, I mean, that could be done without being kind of creepy, but is definitely done creepy. It's already been sort of established as voyeuristic already in the cutscene and everything that preceded this. But we will give her the modicum of dignity allowable under the circumstances as we do this. But not this guy. Again, I have Metal Gear Solid 5 instincts that I want to use that guard, and I want to hold him up and use him as bait for another guard, but they let their arms down faster in this one than they do in MGS5, so that's less possible. Let's see. Oh yeah, so when throwing things... Oh!
Is there somebody there?
Let's get this guy.
Freeze. Don't kill me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's get this guy's dog tag. One thing that I do feel like was a missed opportunity with this is the dog tags. Unlike in MGS2, the dog tags don't have any kind of rewards associated with them. I think absolutely if you're going to put something out there that so broadly signals like collectathon, then you should have some sort of award, or reward rather, attached to it. That's just common courtesy. I think Meryl should be the only one left now. Alright, Meryl's in there. Going to give her ample opportunity to get set up. And now, collect everything we can with our new access to the level 3 card. Yes! New cardboard box. Rick. Looks like Rick's phone number. Made it into the game. Alright, Meryl.
Don't move.
I'm actually wondering if I thwarted myself by taking too long. Because if I got the alert,
Second time I've been able to sneak up on the
then that might
legendary
mean
solid
that,
snake.
okay, no, good. Gave her time to get dressed. Again, where it becomes not just a detective soldier in disguise mechanic and just becomes kind of creepy.
There's no way you could pass for a man for long.
What do you mean? Hey, men aren't allowed in here.
I had no idea you were so feminine.
This is no time to try and hit on me, Snake. Besides, it's a waste of time. When I joined up, they gave me psychotherapy to destroy my interest in men.
Same smart mouth. You're Meryl, all right. Are you hurt?
Not yet. After all, I was disguised as a genome soldier.
So why'd you change? You'd be a lot better
I think
off
one of the
dressed
things
like
that
one of
makes
them.
the faces
I
in
got
this seem a
tired
little
of
weirder,
disguising myself.
as opposed to the way they were in the first game. In the original, I mean, in the original,
Truth
they
is,
were
The
symmetrical.
uniform smelled like blood.
What's that
The
mark?
facial models were symmetrical, but they were also really
this?
low resolution.
It's a
So
paint
there was enough
tattoo.
room
It's not
for
real.
kind of the brain to
I'm a
sort
fan
of
of Fox and way
assume,
back.
you know, the little
When guys like
asymmetries
you
that
and
make
my
a face
uncle
seem
were in it.
realistic. When it's on that level of abstraction,
No,
you don't
gene
have
therapy
to
like
be
there
that
is
literal
today.
in your imagination.
You guys
But
were real
no
heroes.
face is as symmetrical
There are
as the
no
faces in
heroes
this
in
game.
war.
And that was also something
All
a little
heroes
strange
I
about
know
Metal Gear
are
Solid
either
4
dead
at times,
or in
is that the
prison.
left side of many
One or the
characters'
other.
faces was exactly identical to the
Snake,
right.
You're a hero, aren't
And it
you?
didn't have those little humanizing imperfections. So the faces in this, because
I'm
they
just a
are so
guy who
clearly
can only
realized
find
and so
on the
clearly represented,
battlefield.
have an
There's no winning or
uncanny
losing
valley
for a
feeling to them.
mercenary.
And I think
The
that's one of the
winners in
things that
war
makes
are
it
the
seem
people.
off to me
That's right.
compared to
And
the
you fight
original.
for the people.
I've never fought for anyone but myself. I've got no purpose in life. No ultimate goal.
Come on.
It's only when I'm cheating death on the battlefield, the only time I feel truly alive.
Seeing other people die makes you feel alive, huh? You can't stop loving war. Is it the same for all soldiers throughout history?
In the original, these were some of the conversations that made me like Solid Snake so much.
Why didn't you contact me?
That he had,
My Kodak was broken.
I don't know.
Is that all?
He has given time in
Shouldn't
his
just
life
be
to
happy
thinking
you met
about
up
what
like
he
this.
values, and is able to express that regardless of
Anyway, how
you
did
know,
recognize
independent of
me in
how morally
disguise?
comfortable he
I
feels he
never
should
forget
be
a lady.
with it.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah, you got a great butt.
But... Oh, I see. First it's my eyes, now it's my butt. What's next?
On the battlefield, you never think about what's next.
Line does not land like you think it does, Snake.
So Snake, how are the negotiations
Something that
going?
isn't really interesting
No progress.
So it's all
touch
up to you, huh?
Somebody's
in
gotta
this
stop them
level.
from launching
If
a
you
nuclear
go into the
missile.
men's bathroom,
There are
you
two
see all the
ways.
mirrors
Either we
destroyed,
destroy
which
them
initially I
here,
would have thought was
or-
because, you know,
Override
it's hard to do
detonation
reflections, so sometimes you just kind of
got
skip
the
out of it
keys from
by
Baker.
making the mirrors broken. But in this one, in the women's bathroom,
Card keys.
the
You
mirrors
mean this?
are intact.
Where are the
And so
others?
it's not just a
There should
matter
be
of
three keys.
it's not just a
This is
matter
all I've
of,
got.
trying to save on some like
Now, where
tech
could the other two
costs.
be?
It's actually that
no
Psycho
idea,
Mantis uses the
but they
public
must be
restroom there.
somewhere.
Like Psycho Mantis uses
If
the
we can't
restroom there,
find
which is a
them,
very
we'll have no
mundane,
choice
weird thing
but
to
to
think of somebody
destroy
like him
Metal
doing.
Gear.
But clearly,
Frontiers
while
and
washing his
maintenance
hands,
based in
his
North
hatred of his
Pier.
face so overpowered him that he
I
destroyed
know
the
this place
mirrors.
better than you do.
You'll just slow you down.
So yeah,
You
so
don't have enough battle
because Psycho
experience.
Mantis uses that
I
bathroom,
won't
that's why the
slow you
mirrors are
down.
destroyed,
I
not
promise.
because it's a lower tech way of,
What if you do?
you know, making that level.
Then you can shoot me.
I don't like to waste bullets.
I don't like to waste bullets. Metal Gear Solid 1's Snake way of saying that he likes you.
Got it. I'll be careful. You know, I don't use makeup the way other women do. I hardly ever look at myself in the mirror.
Meryl's hair in this, I remember thinking about Meryl's hair in the original Metal Gear, and it sort of had this sort of like tricorn feel to it, just this sort of like very rigid shape. And I think that made more sense in the original PSX one, because the the models, the polygons were very fixed, and having like flowing hair and movement like that just isn't realistic. But keeping that design in this one, it kind of fits. It's kind of like fits the sort of like neither nor territory of it's neither flowing and fluid like a later tech game would be, nor is it fixed and rigid like a PSX1 model. So it still has the shape that it does regardless of context and circumstance. Even if she'd been wearing a hood. But it has just a little bit of fluke to it that lets it sort of float.
I want to know who I am, what I'm capable of. I want to know why I've lived the way I've lived until
It is
now.
also strange to me that the skin tone on her face is different from the skin tone on her shoulders. It's almost paler in the face.
Seen mirrors for a while. There won't be any chances to wash your face either.
Yeah.
In fact, her face uniquely, like Snake's face, is the sort of like warmer skin
There are no
tone.
heroes or heroines. You lose, you die a dog's death.
Yeah.
Is that FAMAS functional?
Unfortunately, it's out of ammo.
Where'd you get that Desert Eagle?
I found it in the armory. It's a 50 caliber Action Express. There was a SOCOM pistol.
It's very funny to think of the notion of
but I
these
chose
hardened,
this.
trained soldiers adopting these
so I
dynamic
got a
poses with their
leftover,
guns and flourishing them as if
Isn't
showing
that
them
gun
off.
a little big for a girl?
Now you treat me like a woman?
Come on, use my 45.
Listen, I've used a gun like this since I was 8 years old. I'm more comfortable with it than I am with a bra.
I can only imagine what the kickback from a Desert Eagle would do to like
If we're
an
gonna go
8-year-old
north, we'll
shoulder
have to go
or
through
something.
the commander's room on this floor. The overland route is blocked by glaciers. The door to the commander's room is security level 5.
I remember seeing a video of a child firing a gun
This card will open it.
in a sort of like safe environment, like at a range, and
was
the
inside the
noise
pocket of the
and the
uniform I was
kickback
wearing.
was so upsetting
It looks
that
like he must have been guarding
he wanted
someplace
absolutely nothing to
important.
do with it. And
Okay, let's go. I know this place better than you.
I kind of feel
I'll be
that, I
point
mean, when
man.
you having
me.
fired a gun at a range myself, it is genuinely surprising if you are not expecting a particular like sort of like intensity of kickback, and I can absolutely imagine that being very upsetting to a child who would not have the frame of reference to
Keep a
expect
lookout.
that.
Make sure you're ready, okay?
Let's see. Did I get a new card? I did. Get a new card. Nifty. Alright, I've already been in here. Cool. This is another instance of kind of what I'm talking about the character starting from a standing position and then entering the cutscene that way. I also wonder about Snake sort of like holding his arms out at the side like that, if there were, I don't know, mocap sensors that prevented him from closing his arms down or something.
It hurts.
What's wrong?
Don't come here, Snake.
Are you okay? What happened?
I'm fine.
That's interesting. I don't think they use the same sort of like puppet body language or marionette body language in the original that they do here. She just sort of has a sort of
Okay. Let's go.
has sort of like perfect posture.
Come on, Mr. Foxhound. The commander is waiting.
And they really kind of draw back on that when they use, I think, Screaming Mantis's marionette powers in MGS4. Maybe not like a direct reference to it, but they certainly use the same thing there. This is a nice touch that I don't remember from the original, but Meryl's posture here, she has her arms held out at the side like Psycho Mantis does when he's floating. So it's kind of like showing how much under his control she is, where her body language changes, and that's exactly the kind of thing that I would hope that that an animator would do when showing like body, like showing like possession.
Do you like me?
What the?
Do you like me?
Imagine this is like the only time in the entire mission that Snake is legitimately
Hurry,
uncomfortable.
Snake,
What's wrong?
hurry. Please, make love to me.
I want you.
Who's that?
Oh, weird. I don't remember them doing something kind of like perspective bending like that with Mantis's proportions.
You don't like girls.
Let's see. If I remember right, grenades, once they get close to Mantis, automatically explode before they can do damage, which I think makes a stun grenade really effective here. Nope, I'm wrong. I seem to remember that being part of the original, but clearly is not the case here. Yes, swimming.
Useless woman.
I think one of the things that
Optic
one of
camouflage, huh?
Mantis's
That's
lines
not your only
that always struck me as the most interesting was Mantis saying, like, but you're even worse. Compared to you, I'm not so bad.
I'll show you why I am the most powerful practitioner of psychokinesis and telepathy in the world.
Oh, Mantis is gonna read my memory card.
No, there's no need for words, Snake. I am Psychomantis. That's right. This is no trick. It's true power.
Oh, weird.
Useless.
When Meryl pulled the gun on Snake, I always thought that the sort of like attraction moment was like a feint to get his gun, but she actually just pulled her gun out on him.
You are a very methodical man. The type that always kicks his tires before he leaves.
I was never sure if that's supposed to be an insult or not. I always felt that it vaguely was.
Skilled warrior, well suited to this stealth mission. You are extremely careful of traps. You are either very cautious or you are a coward. Still don't believe me? Now I'll read more deeply into your soul.
Oh, nifty. Mantis has a...
I see that you enjoy Nintendo games. You like Silicon Knights games, don't you? So, you like adventure games? Did you enjoy playing Eternal Darkness? You seem to like The Legend of Zelda, don't you? You have not saved very often. You are somewhat reckless. I can read.
Calling out the Nintendo titles and also Nintendo by name seems a little goofier than I feel like this moment was made for.
You still don't believe me.
Yes, it does.
I will show you my psychokinetic power. Put your controller on the
Here it is, folks.
Put it down.
Oh, nifty. They gave him barcodes.
That's good.
Thanks, Snake. Here we go. Let's get the acoustics on this.
I will move your controller by the power of my will alone.
Also, good evening, Time Zombie. Oh, there's no rumble. Oh, there's a little rumble, but the rumble on this is not nearly as strong as the DualShock. But it's super goofy. That Snake reacts to it bodily.
What do you think now? Can you feel my power? The demonstration is over.
Oh, this is interesting because this is, oh weird, the heads track the fireballs. This is interesting because this does not happen at all in the PS1 original. But if you look at the Metal Gear Solid, like, digital graphic novel, this moment is in that as a way of illustrating that Snake is stronger than, the Snake is stronger than Mantis's powers. Also, the sort of like Red Skull look on that that painting kind of makes me think of the Big Boss facial camo that you get in MGS4. And this does go, as you might think. I unplugged this, and now I have it in the second port. However, you might remember that the GameCube has 4 ports. And yes, you do have to use all 4 of them in this. And yeah, Time Zombie, I'm actually really curious to know what other games I could have on there that he would respond to. Somewhat annoyingly, it does take away your first person after a few seconds. And yes, this fight is not optimized for this version. But this is time to switch over to port 3. No, in this one, I mean, that's a really interesting question. There's kind of maybe an unintended progression from more baby-faced snake to gruffer and then beard and then mustached snake as his games go on. Even though he is hardly a rookie at the time of this one. Mantis's tactics were not made for anybody lying prone. Oh, weird. Camera angle does something wonky there. It might be. Otacon has facial hair, which is also a weird choice between the two. Okay, he can hit somebody crouching down from that with that attack. Okay, we're in port 4 time now. That's very funny. Weird. Mantis's knee, very stamina unfriendly part of his body.
Colonel, your niece is going to be okay.
Thanks, Snake.
We've got some overlapping VO there at the end. Now that was definitely a line they have to retranslate or edit, because I think in the original he said you used the other, but now there's no the, there's multiple others. One does wonder how Mantis,
Go past the communication towers, then use the tower's walkway.
how Mantis, changed from, being able to control
I can read people's minds.
Metal Gear Sahelanthropus to, being able to throw things around an office. It's like kind of a downgrade in ability.
Of thousands upon thousands of men and women.
Yeah, no, he definitely peaked at, like, 9.
Oh, gross.
And each mind that I peered into was stuffed with the same single object of obsession. That selfish and atavistic desire to pass on one's seed. It was enough to make me sick. Every living thing on this planet exists.
No,
to
Meryl's
remind
manners
us
are not
they
there.
pass on their DNA. We're designed that way, and that is why there is war. But you are different. You're the same as us. We have no past, no future. We live in the moment. That's our only purpose. Humans weren't designed to bring each other happiness.
What if Mantis knows that he totally fought Snake's dad with a giant walking robot?
We're fated to bring each other nothing but pain and misery.
Yeah, you can definitely know who's, you can absolutely know who's capable of following through on their
I
intentions.
saw nothing but disgust and hatred for me in his heart. My mother died in childbirth, and he despised me for it. I thought my father was going to kill me. That's when my future disappeared. I lost my past as well. When I came to,
They really are.
the village was
Especially
engulfed
since,
in
I mean,
flames.
especially with the,
Are you saying
with the
you
ability
burned
to
your village
tranquilize
down
them,
to bury your
uh,
past?
I see that you have suffered the same trauma.
Metal Gear Solid 2, I'm appreciating this more now. Metal Gear Solid 2 really balanced out the ability to use tranquilizer attacks by making bosses essentially unkillable by Raiden, except for Fat Man, in which case you didn't literally kill him, you just knocked him out, and Olga has to be knocked out by cannon, because, not by a cannon, but canonically has to be knocked out because that's the only weapon that Snake has at that point. But it's actually crucial to the plot in this one that Snake literally kills all these bosses, so tranquilizing them doesn't carry over into the way the story actually plays out.
True evil. Snake, seeing you calms my soul. Horse.
Yeah, Mantis knows exactly what proportion of your Steam library is visual novels.
I read her mind as well.
Meryl's?
I saw you there. You have a large place in her heart.
A large place.
And getting bigger. But I do not know if your futures lie together.
Well, I mean, that's probably how Mantis got all those scars, right?
Request.
What is it?
My mask. Put it back on.
Okay.
Like this. Other people's thoughts force their way into my mind. Before I die, I want
Yeah, I
to
actually,
be
as I've been going through and
myself.
replaying Metal Gear Solid 5, I find myself never using the Woo tranquilizer gun. I currently use the Burkov, which is lethal, because I just remember thinking that the tranquilizer gun made it easy in a way that didn't feel fun. And so I decided that if I was going to have any kind of like KO takedowns, it would be entirely CQC or shock arm based.
This is the first time I've ever used my power to help someone. Strange. Such a nostalgic feeling.
Yes, exactly. I also try to rely less on Fultoning when I'm going through a set piece. I try to use holdups more often, and then once I get caught, once I get caught and
I'm
I'm
sorry.
trying to avoid, the swarm of guards. At that point, I'll allow myself to use kind of like straight up lethal tactics. But prior to that, I try to sneak, use close quarters and other tools. But yeah.
All right.
Don't regret your past. Learn from it.
No, they broke the fourth
Regrets just make a
wall.
person weaker.
They break the fourth wall during the
You're right.
torture sequence,
I'm
and they
sorry.
also broke the fourth wall
I
just a
won't
little
do it
bit
again.
when Mantis
Snake,
said
Can I ask you something?
said that.
More complaints.
Oh no, actually, I think you were there. I
About
think
what
that
Mantis
what you're
said.
talking about includes the
I
moment
was
where
just
Mantis
wondering.
says, "Put your controller on the floor." Snake looks at the player and does like a nod.
What? What's the problem now?
Oh, no. Nothing. So tell me, Snake, what's your name? Your real name?
A name means nothing on the battlefield. After a week, no one has a name.
How old are you?
I just find it very funny that given given
enough
this
to know
build
what
up to
death
what
looks
Snake's
like.
name is, it turns out to be something very day to day, like
family?
David. It's not
No, but I was raised by
not,
many people.
Is
not
there
an
anyone
exotic
you like?
reveal.
I've never
I mean,
been
charmingly
interested in
funny,
anyone
not like
else's life.
that's a bad choice funny.
So you
I think
are
it
all
works.
alone, just like Mantis said.
Yeah, Sweeney, that is something that is interesting
Other
about
people
Raiden
just
being
complicate my
dorky
life.
in Metal Gear
I
Solid
don't like to
2,
get
and
involved.
it's like they finally got
sad,
somebody who's
lonely
dorkier than
man.
Snake that Snake could stand
Come
next
on,
to,
let's
and then
go.
Snake doesn't look super dorky by comparison. But a lot of his dialogue in this is kind of just very socially awkward, very awkward and disconnected. Yeah, no, Metal Gear Solid 2 really leaned into that. Can I get a dog tag out of this guy? I can. Huh. Really weird being able to carry somebody as skinny as Mantis. I just gotta check. Yep. Well, that victory, that moral victory has now been cashed in. I'm gonna make Snake look like a real dork in front of Meryl. Oh, what? Whoa, never mind. Snake can roll upstairs. Oh, weird. Meryl still has the
Why are you staring at me?
the mantis posture. Weird. They used that office
Could there be
in
wolves in here?
in one of the VR missions. Yeah, there was a mystery
Wolf dogs.
VR mission.
Half wolf, half husky.
How do you know so much?
I ride dog sleds. I'm a musher.
I'll take point. Snake, you follow me.
There's a thing over here. Okay, just ammo. Oh yeah, this totally becomes very easy in this version. Excuse me. Part of the challenge with this area in the original is you can't really see the wolves off screen, so they catch you by surprise. But now you can just make them sleepy. Whoops. Oh, you can also... Weird, I did not know that. You can auto-aim on them. Which also seems to make this much easier. Oh, really? Put on these here. Oh, weird. Yeah, this is another instance, I think, where the better resolution and better technology actually reveals its limitations, because in the PSX version, all the textures are... Aw, little guy. All the textures are very rough and low res, so when you have like polygons and stuff like that meeting at weird angles, it doesn't look off because it's all sort of rough. But here it does. Yeah, there we go. That's the posture I'm looking for Meryl's normal pose. And
Snake, what's wrong? I thought you were good with dogs.
this is the secret trick that makes you feel bad. What? Wait, no. No, that wasn't it.
What are you doing?
Here. And it actually does depend on which box you christen.
Doing?
Because I think it ticks like smells like dog pee on each box individually, not just on your boxes as a whole.
What are you doing?
Let's see, is that everything? Yeah. So the benefit of that is now this actually works better in the original game. It's more effective, more necessary, I want to say, in the original game than in this one.
This place is mine. I'll take point
But
again. Stay back, okay?
if your box smells like dog pee, the dog recognizes you as one of its own. So if you wear the cardboard boxes you run through there, they won't attack you, which is what that does for you.
Leave it to me.
I don't know, Time Zombie. It always struck me as such a funny mini game to put in here, and one that's...
So what do you think? Pretty good, huh?
How did you know where the mines were?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds weird, but when Mantis dove into my mind, I was able to see where the mines
I'm
were
like,
placed.
you know what?
Are you
I'm gonna
impressed?
grab these and save these for the Vulcan Raven
A
fight.
little bit.
Only a little.
Yes, running along the right wall is what I mainly did myself. As far as I'm concerned, this is free goodies. Let's see. Did I get all of them? How am I doing on stock? Actually, this is going to bring me up to full. Ah, shucks. Yeah, the Raven fight. Raven fight in this one, I found I was able to beat him pretty well with a stun tactic if I equipped the FAMAS rifle, had full rations, had body armor and then full rations, ran up to him wearing the body armor and just kept punching him with the butt of the rifle, and that will take him down from max stamina to none pretty quickly. Those this is the same with Ocelot's blood spurt, where Gray Fox cuts it off and he holds it for a second. He's like, "What?" And then it starts spewing, and Meryl's battle damage there on that first hit. It kind of makes me think of that that old Looney Tunes joke, "Penguins can't fly," where you know, you got a penguin flying, and then someone says, "You know, penguins can't fly," and as soon as he realizes it, then he falls, and it's as though the character has to acknowledge that they have been severely wounded before the blood spurts out.
I guess I'm a rookie after all.
Don't worry, Meryl. It's me they want.
Even I know that. It's the oldest trick in the book.
Oh man, I don't think I've ever stun locked him. I've just sort of eaten the damage.
For bait to lure you out.
Damn.
Shoot me, Snake.
No.
My gun. I can't reach it by myself.
Don't move.
And yes, no, Meryl,
Promised I wouldn't slow you down.
Meryl gets shot through through 3 limbs and can still drive a getaway truck at the end.
I want to help you.
Quiet down. Save your strength.
And her knee is in that position.
wanted to be a soldier.
Horrifically.
War is meaningless. Nothing comes out of war. Snake, please.
I wondered the same thing, Squibby.
Go on living and don't give up on people. Don't forget me. Don't forget what I said.
It does seem like the better reward should go for the better challenge, but
No.
it's also
Here.
kind of sad that for speed running this, like the ideal approach in in either version of this is just to give in to Ocelot's torture immediately. So it's funny because you would think like with a speed run and with a soldier like Solid Snake, you would think that maybe the fastest way through would be the most ideal scenario. But in fact, it is not. I don't know, actually. Let's see. I think we can get this to the PSG-1. That'll be a good place to call it a night. Remember me? Your best friend, the box. That's right. We smell the same. Oh, weird. I don't remember the box rattling like that as you run around. Weird. Dogs do love boxes. The torture sequence on this version goes on quite a while, at least on extreme. Here we go, here's the worst guard in the world. And there we go.
Is this all there is to load? To the heliport, huh?
I actually think this is this is a way to use the GameCube version of this to do something kind of neat, because there is always the question of how is Snake not immediately visible through that giant handle. And also, who thinks it's normal that a box just has the bottom wide open? Sorry. Hair trigger. I think you can put the gas mask on here. Yeah, the gas mask actually helps your O2 gauge go down more slowly. Its filtering functions are unparalleled. Oh. Don't believe I intended to walk that far out.
Is there somebody there?
Oh wow, that went straight to alert. The backup guards in this do not waste their time in showing up. Actually, here we go. This is how we're gonna do this. I actually don't know what's supposed to be in here. Here's the gun room. Weirdly guarded. Moss room.
Freeze. Don't kill me.
Let's get you
It's all clear.
put in here. Oh yeah, they kept the pinup poster idea from MGS2, but they replaced it with all Silicon Knight stuff. I want to say that Konami has some sort of modeling agency under their corporate umbrella, and that's where they were able to get all the pictures of the models for the pinup posters from. And I'm guessing that something was not similarly available, or that Nintendo had a brand thing that they didn't want to cross.
Who's there? It's all clear.
This guy.
I just ran into him. Back me up. I've got him.
And that's all there is to that. Wait, who are you? Alright, we can fix this. Truly the super soldier of the 21st century. Here we go. Whoop! Wrong thing. Ultimate stealth. There we go. Let's just take care of that a little bit. That's what I'm looking for. PSG-1T, I think, should be around here somewhere, but I don't know where. First floor, yeah. Probably the fastest way back. Actually, what time are we at? Yeah, I should probably call it a night here. Let's get out to the tank field. That'll be a good place to save. So, that brings us to the end of the stream. We will pick up next time on Saturday, starting sometime in the 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time area, or time frame is the word I'm looking for. Time, not space. And yeah, we'll start around then and pick back up with the Sniper Wolf fight. Thank you everybody for coming out. Swimmy, Time Zombie, it's great to see you. And yeah, have a great night. Oh, yes, let's go ahead and save that there before disaster strikes. There we go. Good. Have a great night.